Hi, I'm Julia, and welcome back to English Without Limit. I'm so glad you're here with me today because we're about to talk about something that matters to every human being. Your feelings. Yes, your emotions. Whether you're happy or sad, excited or anxious, confident or unsure. Your emotions are part of your life every day. And when you're learning English, one of the biggest challenges is knowing how to talk about those emotions. Maybe you felt something deeply, something strong, personal, or even painful, but you couldn't find the words. Maybe someone asked, "How are you feeling?" And all you could say was, "I'm fine," even though that wasn't true. If that sounds familiar, you're definitely not alone. One of the most important parts of learning a new language is learning how to express what's going on inside you. Grammar and vocabulary are important, of course, but fluency isn't just about saying the right sentence. It's about saying something real, and your emotions, your true, honest feelings, are one of the most real things you can talk about. When you can say, "I'm nervous" before a job interview, or "I feel proud after finishing a project," you connect more deeply with the people around you. You're not just speaking English, you're speaking from the heart. But here's the good news. You don't need perfect grammar to describe your emotions. You don't need to memorize complicated phrases. In fact, the opposite is true. The simpler your words, the more powerful your message. You can say, "I feel tired," or "I'm a little sad today." You can say, "I'm excited," or "I feel nervous." These are short, clear, real expressions. They work. And the more you practice them, the more natural they'll sound. I know many of you feel nervous when speaking English, especially when the topic is personal. Maybe you're afraid of making a mistake. Maybe you think people won't understand you. Or maybe you worry your accent will make you sound strange. But let me tell you something important. The way you feel matters. And learning to express your feelings in English isn't just a language skill. It's a life skill. When you can talk about your emotions, you build confidence, create stronger relationships, and feel more at home in English-speaking environments. I've heard from so many of you from all over the world, from people in Tokyo, Paris, Istanbul, New Delhi, Cape Town, who all say the same thing. "I understand English, but I don't know how to express what I really feel." That's what inspired today's episode, because it doesn't matter where you come from, whether you're in a big city or a small town, whether you're a student or a professional, your feelings are real and you deserve to be able to talk about them clearly, honestly, and with confidence. When I think about all the amazing people who listen to this podcast, people like you, I think about the courage it takes to learn a new language. It's not easy. It takes time, patience, and practice. But it also takes vulnerability. You're not just learning words and phrases. You're learning how to share your thoughts, your opinions, your needs, and yes, your feelings. That's powerful. And I want to help you do it step by step with kindness, clarity, and confidence. So let me ask you, how are you feeling today? Take a second. Don't answer with fine or good just because it's easy. Think about it. Are you feeling hopeful? Maybe a little frustrated? Are you excited to learn? Or maybe you're tired from a long day? Whatever you feel, try to put it into words. You don't have to say it out loud. Just think about it. This is the first step. The first step to speaking more naturally, more confidently, and more honestly in English. I want this space, English Without Limit, to be a place where you feel safe to try, where you feel supported, where it's okay to make mistakes, because mistakes are part of learning, and learning is how we grow. So today, I want you to be brave. I want you to give yourself permission to feel, to speak, and to learn without fear. We're going to walk through this together. You might be surprised at how many emotions we carry with us every day, some big, some small. And the truth is, you don't always need big words to describe big feelings. You just need to know the right ones. That's what we're going to practice together in this episode. And it's not just about vocabulary. It's about connection. It's about being able to say, I'm scared, and having someone say, I understand. It's about saying, I'm really happy today, and sharing that joy. Or saying, I feel alone, and knowing that someone is listening. Language is connection, and emotions are the bridge. Now, if you're listening and thinking, this is exactly what I need, then I want to ask you for a small favor. Please give this episode a like, and if you haven't already, subscribe to English Without Limit. When you do that, you help more learners, people just like you, find this content. You help build this community. And more than anything, you tell yourself, yes, I'm doing this. I'm serious about learning. I'm ready. That small action is part of your growth. It tells your brain, this is important to me. And it tells me that you're here and you're ready to move forward. Sometimes people tell me they feel stuck in English. They say, I know the words, but I can't use them. Or, I freeze when people ask me how I feel. And what I always say is, don't aim for perfect. Aim for honest. Don't try to sound like a native speaker. Try to sound like yourself. Because your feelings are yours. Your voice is yours. And when you speak from that place, simple, clear, real, you sound more natural than you think. I want you to remember that language is not just something you learn, it's something you live, and feelings are a huge part of life. So learning to describe them is one of the most important steps you can take. It gives you freedom, it gives you connection, it gives you peace of mind, and you don't need to do it all at once. You can start with just one feeling, one word, one sentence. You can say, I'm nervous but excited. That's enough. That's communication. That's English. This is going to be a powerful episode because we're not just going to talk about emotions, we're going to talk through them. We're going to look at real stories, real situations, and real solutions. I'll share examples from learners around the world who found their voice in English by learning how to name their feelings. I'll show you how simple language can create deep conversations. And I'll guide you through vocabulary that fits real life. Not textbook life, but your life. You're not just learning how to speak English, you're learning how to be yourself in English. And that's one of the most beautiful parts of this journey. So, wherever you are today, however you feel, thank you for being here. You are part of this community. You belong here. And we're just getting started. Let me share a story that really stayed with me. Something many of us go through when we're learning to express ourselves in English. Her name is Marta. She's 29, originally from Warsaw, Poland, and she works as a software designer. A few years ago, Marta got an incredible opportunity to move to London for a new job. It was exciting, but it also came with a lot of pressure. New city, new language environment, new colleagues. Every day felt like a test, not just professionally, but personally too. On the outside, Marta seemed to be adjusting well. She was doing her job, attending meetings, chatting in the kitchen at work, even smiling during team lunches. But inside, things weren't so easy. She told me about one Monday morning when everything just felt off. There had been a huge project review, and she felt like she couldn't keep up with the pace of the meeting. People were talking fast, using idioms, making jokes, and she was stuck trying to catch just the basic meaning. By the time the meeting ended, she was completely drained. As she walked back to her desk, her colleague Tom asked, "How are you?" Just a simple, friendly question, but for Marta, it was like a spotlight had been turned on. Her heart started racing, and her mind went completely blank. She wanted to say, "I feel overwhelmed," or "I'm frustrated because I didn't understand what was going on." But all she said was, "I'm fine." And then she smiled, because that was the safe answer she had learned. But Marta wasn't fine. She was tired, stressed, and honestly, a little lonely. And the worst part was that she couldn't say it. Not because the words didn't exist, but because she didn't feel confident using them. She told me later, "I knew how to say overwhelmed, but in that moment, I couldn't get the word out. I felt like my English was too small for my emotions." That really hit me, because I know so many learners have felt exactly the same way, that their emotions are too big for their language level. But here's what I want to say to you, and what I said to Marta. You don't need big words to express big feelings. You just need honest ones. Even something as simple as, "I'm a bit anxious," or "I feel a little lost today," can open a door. You don't have to explain everything in perfect detail. You don't have to sound like a native speaker. You just have to try. Marta started practicing this with herself first. Every evening she wrote down one sentence about how she felt that day. Nothing long or complicated, just one line. Some days it was, "I felt confused at work." Other days, "I felt happy when someone laughed at my joke." Over time, she built a small library of emotional phrases. Things like, "I feel nervous when I speak in meetings." "I'm a bit stressed about deadlines." "I felt proud when I finished my task." "I'm tired today, but I'm doing my best." These are simple sentences, but they're real. They describe what's actually going on inside. Once Marta got used to writing them, she started saying them out loud. She practiced with a friend, then with her English tutor, and slowly with her coworkers. One day, after another intense meeting, Tom asked her again, "How are you?" And this time she didn't say, "I'm fine." She said, "I feel a bit overwhelmed. That meeting was hard to follow." Tom didn't judge her. In fact, he nodded and said, "Yeah, it was a lot. I felt the same way." And just like that, something shifted. That moment gave Marta more confidence than any textbook exercise ever had, because she spoke the truth in English and someone understood her. That's what communication is really about. Not just speaking, but being heard. You might think you need advanced vocabulary to talk about emotions, but that's not true. Sometimes the most powerful words are the simplest ones. I feel sad. I'm excited. I'm confused. These are complete, clear, and human sentences. And when you use them, you don't just improve your English. You improve your connection with others. Think about a time when someone asked you how you felt and you didn't know what to say. Maybe you said, "I'm fine," because it was easier, or maybe you didn't say anything at all. That's okay. It happens to everyone. But what if you had one or two simple phrases ready? What if you could say, "I'm a little nervous," or "I'm feeling a bit off today"? What kind of conversation could that open up? That's what Marta learned. She didn't try to sound perfect. She just tried to be honest. And that honesty gave her confidence. It gave her words. It gave her voice. So wherever you are on your English journey, remember this. Your feelings are important, and your words, however simple, are enough. You don't have to wait until your English is perfect to speak from the heart. Start with small, clear phrases. Practice them, use them, and little by little, you'll find your voice. Marta's story isn't just about her. It's about all of us who have felt something real and struggled to say it in English. It's about choosing clarity over perfection. It's about saying something simple and true instead of staying silent. And it's about understanding that even in a second language, you have the right to express your feelings. You don't need to be fluent to be understood. You just need to be real. Let me remind you of something that might seem obvious, but often gets forgotten. Your goal is not to impress people with fancy vocabulary. Your goal is to be understood. That's where confidence begins. That's where connection happens. And that's why today, I want to talk about the power of simple sentences. This can completely change how you experience speaking English. I call it the simplicity trick, and it's one of the most effective tools you'll ever use. I know it's tempting to aim for long, complicated phrases. You want to sound advanced. You want to prove you know the language. I've seen it in many learners. Maybe even you. People say things like, I feel a tremendous amount of emotional instability due to unforeseen challenges, when what they really mean is, I'm stressed. Yes, the long version is grammatically correct, but guess what? It's confusing, unnatural, and often hard to say in the moment. It doesn't help communication, it blocks it. When you're speaking English, especially about your feelings, shorter sentences are your best friend. Why? Because they're easier to remember, faster to say, and more likely to be understood. Let me give you a few examples of what I mean. I feel tired. I'm excited about my new project. I'm nervous. I feel a bit down today. I'm really happy right now. I feel frustrated. These are not complex sentences. They don't use advanced vocabulary, but they're powerful because they're real, they're honest, and most importantly, they work in real-life conversations. Let me tell you about a student I worked with, Ravi. He's 32, a marketing specialist from Mumbai. When we first started working together, Ravi was always chasing perfection. He wanted every sentence to sound like it came from a professional textbook. And because of that, he would pause a lot, searching for the perfect word. He'd start speaking, then stop and say things like, wait, how do I say this correctly? The result? He said very little. Conversations became stressful. He was more focused on grammar than on being himself, so I gave him a little challenge. I said, Ravi, for 1 week, I want you to stop trying to sound advanced. I want you to use only simple sentences, especially when you talk about your feelings. At first, he laughed. He said, But Julia, that's too basic. And I said, Basic is good. Basic is clear. Try it. He did. He practiced saying things like, I feel happy today. I'm nervous about the meeting. And guess what? People responded more. His colleagues didn't look confused. They listened. They understood. The conversation flowed. And the best part? Ravi didn't feel stuck anymore. He felt free. He didn't need to search for the perfect word. He just said what he felt in simple English, and people understood him. Let me say it again. Clarity is more important than complexity. If someone understands you, the conversation moves forward. If they don't, it stops. And when you try to use big words you're not comfortable with, you're more likely to freeze, hesitate, or say nothing at all. And that's the opposite of fluency. Think about it like this. You don't need a mansion of words to express your emotions. Sometimes, a small house with a strong foundation is better. If someone says, "I'm really sad," you understand them immediately. There's no confusion, no need to decode it. But if they say, "I'm experiencing an intense emotional downturn due to recent events," you might pause and think, "Wait, what do they mean?" Simple sentences don't make you sound weak or less intelligent. They make you sound clear. And that's what fluent speakers do. They focus on clarity. They say what they mean in the easiest way possible. In fact, many native speakers use very short sentences every single day. It's natural. It's real. It's effective. Another learner I worked with, Aiko from Tokyo, told me something interesting. She felt embarrassed saying things like, "I'm sad" or "I'm nervous." She thought those words were too simple, too basic, maybe even childish. But then she spent a summer working in Vancouver, and she noticed something that changed her thinking. Her native English-speaking coworkers, they used those exact same words. "I'm so tired today. I'm excited for the weekend. I feel weird about this project." They weren't using fancy expressions. They weren't speaking like a textbook. They were just being honest. And that honesty made them sound confident. So Aiko tried it too. She let go of the complicated vocabulary and started using short, clear phrases. She told me, "I stopped worrying about sounding smart and started focusing on sounding real." And that changed everything. So if you've ever stopped yourself from speaking because you didn't know a complicated word, let me tell you this. You don't need that word. You already have the most powerful ones. Words like happy, sad, tired, excited, nervous, bored, frustrated, calm. These are the words people use every day. And when you say them clearly, you give your conversation partner something real to connect with. Because the goal of learning English isn't to impress people with perfect grammar or advanced words. It's to communicate, to be understood, to share how you feel and what you need. If you can do that, you're already speaking fluently. Fluency isn't about speed. It's not about sounding academic or using big words. It's not about impressing people. It's about expressing yourself clearly and confidently. So here's your small challenge. Take one emotion you feel often, maybe stress, maybe joy, and practice saying 1 or 2 simple sentences about it. "I feel stressed this week." "I'm really happy about my trip." Say it out loud. Say it in front of a mirror. Say it to a friend. Say it at work. The more you say it, the more natural it becomes. You don't need a long list of advanced vocabulary to talk about your emotions. Start with short, clear sentences. They are powerful, they are useful, and they will help you build the confidence to say more over time. Every fluent speaker, every single one, started with simple words. That's the foundation of all good communication. And once you embrace the simplicity trick, you'll discover just how many new doors open in your English journey. I want to tell you a story. It's about confidence. It's about emotions. And most importantly, it's about learning how to express yourself in real English. Let's begin. I once worked with a student named Jun. He was a university student from Seoul. Smart, thoughtful, hardworking. But in class, he was quiet, especially during group discussions. Not because he had nothing to say, but because he wasn't sure how to say it. He worried about grammar, he worried about pronunciation, and most of all, he worried about how to express what he felt. Then one day, something changed. Jun had a big class presentation coming up. He prepared for days, memorizing lines, practicing his tone, rehearsing every slide. The day finally came. Jun stood in front of the class, hands shaking a little, and began to speak. His voice was clear. His English wasn't perfect, but it was confident, and most importantly, it was enough. After 10 minutes, the class applauded. His group members gave him a thumbs up. His professor smiled and said, "Well done." And in that moment, Jun felt something powerful, a deep, real sense of pride. He had done something hard, something new, something he never thought he could do. And he did it, in English. After class, one of his classmates asked, "How do you feel?" Jun smiled and said, "I feel good." Just that. Good. But inside, he felt so much more. He felt proud, relieved, excited. He just didn't have the words for it. That moment stayed with him because it showed something important. Being able to describe your positive emotions in English is just as important as knowing vocabulary or grammar. So many learners get stuck using the same words. I'm fine. I'm okay. I'm good. They're easy. They're safe. But they don't always tell the truth because emotions, especially the good ones, deserve better. So today, I want to help you expand your emotional vocabulary. Let's start with one powerful word, proud. Saying I'm proud means you recognize your own effort, your progress, your courage. You don't need a big achievement to use it. You can say it after a small win, like joining a conversation, or after something big, like presenting in front of others. Imagine if Jun had said, "I'm really proud of myself for presenting today." That tells a full story in just a few words. Now let's talk about another word, relieved. You feel relieved when something difficult ends, like after a test or a big meeting. It's that lighter, calmer feeling. You could say, "I feel relieved it's over." It helps others understand what you've just gone through. And then there's excited, a word full of energy. Instead of saying, "I'm good," you could say, "I'm excited about this new project." Or, "I feel excited that I tried something new." It's honest, it's real, and it connects you to the person listening. Now, let's go a little deeper. Here are some full expressions you can try. I'm really proud of what I did. I'm so happy with how it went. I didn't expect to feel this good, but I'm glad I tried. I'm grateful for how everything worked out. They're not long, they're not complex, but they're rich. They carry emotion, and they open the door to real conversation. Later, Jun began learning more words to describe his feelings, and the next time someone asked him, "How do you feel?" he didn't say good. He said, "I feel really proud. I worked hard, and it went better than I expected." That sentence did something amazing. It gave the other person more understanding, more connection, and it gave Jun something to confidence, control, clarity. If you've ever felt like good or fine doesn't say enough, you're absolutely right. Your happiness deserves more space, more words, more expression. So here's what I want you to try. Practice saying how you really feel when something goes well, even if no one's around. Say it out loud. Here are some to get you started. I'm feeling really proud of what I accomplished. I'm so relieved it's over. I'm excited about this new opportunity. I feel so happy right now. I'm grateful for how everything worked out. The more you say them, the more natural they become. And when someone asks you, "How do you feel?" you'll be ready. You won't have to settle for just good. This is what I call emotional fluency. It's not just about vocabulary. It's about matching your words to your feelings. That's what makes you a confident speaker. That's what makes you real. Now, I want to take a moment and talk about something we sometimes avoid: the harder emotions, like frustration. That word is strong, but useful. You can say, "I feel frustrated because I can't explain myself the way I want to." That's honest, and saying it out loud gives you room to breathe. It's not weakness, it's truth. Real strength comes when you can say, "I'm not okay right now." Let me tell you about Amina. She's a teacher from Cairo, and for a long time, she smiled every time she spoke English, just to hide how anxious she felt. But one day, during a conversation class, she said, "I get really nervous when I speak English in a group." And something amazing happened. People nodded. They said, "Me too." That moment changed everything. The room felt different, more honest, more supportive. When you share how you feel, especially the hard feelings, people connect with you. It helps you feel seen. It helps you feel safe. So remember, fluency isn't about sounding perfect. It's about being understood. It's about sharing your truth. Whether you're proud, excited, relieved, or frustrated, let your English match your emotions. That's where your voice lives. And once you find that voice, English becomes more than a language. It becomes a part of you. You don't have to share everything, but you can choose small, real moments, and you don't have to make them heavy or dramatic. Sometimes a phrase like, "I'm feeling a bit off today," or "It's just one of those days," is enough. These are gentle ways to say you're feeling low. They're not complicated, but they're real. Try saying these out loud with me. "I feel a little sad today. I'm disappointed because I worked hard. I'm frustrated. I want to do better. I just feel off today. Not sure why. I feel lonely sometimes, especially in new places." Short phrases, simple structure, but they carry meaning. And when you practice them, they start to feel natural. You'll be able to use them in real conversations, just like Matteo or Amina. Because you don't need to hide your emotions to be a good English speaker. In fact, the more you practice expressing them, the more natural your English sounds. Emotions are part of real communication, and when you use them, people listen. So if you've ever felt like saying "I'm fine" wasn't the full truth, give yourself permission to say something more honest next time, even if it's just a little more. Because every time you do, you grow, not just in English, but as a communicator and as a person. Let's pause here for a moment. I want you to remember this. Sadness doesn't mean failure. It means you care. It means something matters to you. And learning how to express that in English, that's part of becoming fluent, not just in language, but in life. Let's take a closer look at a phrase you've probably used many times. "I'm okay." It's short. It's safe. And it's one of the most common responses when someone asks, "How are you?" But here's the truth. This little phrase can mean so many different things, depending on your voice, your face, your situation. And if you're learning English, that can be confusing. So, in this episode, I want to help you understand the power of context, because in English, meaning isn't just about the words, it's about how you use them. Let me share a story with you. A young woman named Elisa from Madrid was working in Amsterdam. She told me that one day she had a bad headache and felt really stressed about a deadline. A coworker asked, "Are you okay?" And she replied, "I'm okay." But her voice was flat, tired. The coworker paused, looked at her, and said, "Are you sure?" That's when Elisa realized something important. Her tone gave her away. She hadn't meant to be dishonest. She just didn't know the right words. But her voice said more than the phrase did. That's the power of emotional context. Let's break down 3 different versions of I'm okay. 1. Happy and upbeat. Smiling, eye contact, cheerful tone. I'm okay. This might mean I'm doing pretty well. Not perfect, but good. 2. Flat and low energy. No smile, soft voice. I'm okay. This could mean I'm not really okay, but I don't want to get into it. 3. Defensive or distant. Tense voice, short tone. I'm okay. This one might mean, please don't ask me more. Same words, different emotions. That's why tone and context are so important in English. So, how do we start using I'm okay more naturally? First, check in with yourself. Ask, what do I really want to say? Second, try practicing your tone. Say, I'm okay 3 different ways. Happy, tired, and annoyed. Hear the difference? That's emotional fluency. Third, add just a little more. Like this. I'm okay, just a little tired. I'm okay, but it's been a long day. I'm okay. Thanks for asking. These little additions add so much depth. And remember, context matters. In a professional setting, I'm okay might be enough. But with a friend, you might want to be more open. Here's another story. Raji, a student from Mumbai, moved to Dublin. He often said, I'm okay, even when he wasn't. One day, his professor noticed something in his tone and said, if you ever need support, just let me know. That moment taught Raji that tone speaks, and sometimes a soft truth is better than hiding behind safe words. Now, I want to share one more story with you. David, a 26-year-old design student from Berlin, moved to New York for an internship. It was exciting, but overwhelming. He got lost on the subway, missed an important meeting, struggled with new systems, and when someone asked him, "How was your day?" he just smiled and said, "It was fine," but it wasn't. Later, he told me, I didn't say anything because I didn't know how. Not just in English, but emotionally. He didn't want to seem negative. He didn't want to complain. So he kept it all in. But the thing about frustration is, it doesn't go away when we ignore it. It builds up. That's why it's important to learn this phrase. I feel frustrated. It's short. It's clear. It tells the truth. And it helps you breathe. It creates space. When you can say what's real, even in simple words, people understand you better. You feel more seen, and you become a more confident speaker because you're a more honest speaker. So let's end today's episode with a little challenge. Next time someone asks how you're doing, try something a bit more honest, not dramatic. Just real. Say, I'm okay. Just a little off today. I'm feeling tired, but I'm managing. I'm fine. Just a bit overwhelmed. Let your words match how you feel. Because fluency isn't just grammar. It's not just vocabulary. It's being able to say something that's true. That's what makes English come alive. You might be surprised, but just a few simple phrases can help you express how you're feeling, even when things aren't going well. Let's start with this one. I feel frustrated. It's short. It's direct. And it tells the truth. You can use it when something isn't working, when you feel stuck, or when things don't go the way you expected. You don't need to explain everything. Just saying, I feel frustrated, can help you release some of that pressure. Another helpful phrase is, this is confusing. This one is so useful. You can use it when instructions aren't clear, someone is speaking too fast, or when you're dealing with something new and unfamiliar, like a form, a system, or a website. Let's say you're filling out a form in English and you don't understand a question. You can simply say, "This is confusing. Can you help me?" It's polite, it's honest, and it opens the door for help. Most people will appreciate your honesty, and they'll be more willing to help when you speak clearly and respectfully. Now here's another one. I'm annoyed. This is a little stronger, so be careful with your tone. It's best used when something keeps bothering you, like noise, interruptions, or delays. Imagine someone is talking loudly on the phone right next to you while you're trying to work. You might not want to say, "I'm annoyed," directly. Instead, you can say, "That's a bit annoying." It's softer, but still honest. This is the kind of everyday language native speakers use to keep conversations real, without sounding too harsh. Let me give you a few more phrases that can help you express everyday frustration. I don't get it. This doesn't make sense. I need a moment to figure this out. I'm trying, but this is hard. I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. Each of these phrases gives your emotions a voice. And when you give your feelings a voice, you take away their power to stress you out in silence. That's something David learned. He was a design student from Berlin who got an internship in New York. A dream opportunity, but also overwhelming. He got lost on the subway. He missed a client meeting. He struggled with the office systems. And when someone asked, "How was your day?" he just smiled and said, "It was fine." But inside, he was frustrated and tired. He told me later, he didn't say anything because he didn't know how, not just in English, but emotionally. He didn't want to complain. He didn't want to sound negative, so he kept it all in. But frustration doesn't go away when we ignore it. It sits there quietly and builds up. After a few weeks, David started practicing small phrases with his team. He'd say things like, "Sorry, I didn't catch that." "Can you explain that again? I'm still figuring it out." And eventually, even, "Today was frustrating." And you know what happened? People respected that. No one thought he was weak. They just saw someone being real. Here's the truth. Frustration isn't just about English. It's also about the pressure we put on ourselves. We want to sound smart. We want to be perfect. We want to be seen as capable. But being capable doesn't mean being silent. It means knowing how to ask for help. It means saying, "I'm struggling right now." And knowing, that's okay. When you give yourself permission to express frustration in English, you also give yourself permission to grow. You say, "This is hard for me. This is frustrating, but I'm learning. I don't get it yet, but I will." And that's powerful. That's progress. Let me share one more useful phrase with you, something many native speakers use all the time. I feel like. This phrase is amazing. It helps you express more complex emotions, especially when your feelings are mixed or unclear. Let's be honest, most of our emotions aren't black and white. You might feel excited and nervous, motivated but tired, hopeful but unsure. When someone asks, "How are you feeling?" we often say, "I'm fine," or "I'm tired," but that doesn't always tell the full story. Try saying this instead. "I feel like I'm not making progress," or "I feel like I'm falling behind." These aren't dramatic statements. They're honest, and they help people understand what you're really going through. Let me tell you about Rena. She was a graduate student from Jakarta, doing her PhD in Toronto. Her writing was strong, her exams were solid, but she found it hard to speak up in academic discussions. One day her advisor asked, "Are you okay?" And instead of saying, "I'm fine," Rena said, "I feel like I'm not really part of the conversation." That moment changed everything. She didn't just say she was struggling, she explained how it felt. And her advisor understood. You can use this phrase in your daily life too. Here are some examples to practice. I feel like people don't understand me. I feel like I keep making the same mistakes. I feel like I'm always nervous when I speak. I feel like I'm finally starting to improve. I feel like today is going to be a good day. I feel like no one noticed my effort. It's such a flexible structure. You can use it to express doubt, hope, confusion, or pride. So I encourage you to try it. Practice saying, "I feel like," and finishing the sentence in your own words. Make it personal. Make it real. Because fluency isn't just about grammar, it's about expression. It's about connection, and it's about being you in English. So if today you're feeling stuck or confused or overwhelmed, just say it. Say, "This is frustrating, but I'm learning." Say, "I feel like I'm growing, even if it's slow," because you are growing. And the more you give your emotions a voice, the more confident and natural your English will sound. Each of these sentences shows a feeling connected to a situation. And that's what makes your communication deeper, more human. It helps the person listening really understand what you're going through, not just with their ears, but with their heart. Sometimes learners ask me, "Julia, can I still use 'I feel like' even if it's not a strong emotion?" Yes, absolutely. "I feel like" is perfect for all emotions. Big ones, quiet ones, even confusing ones. It's not about drama, it's about being real. It's about what's true for you in that moment. And here's something even more special. It helps with self-reflection. When you say, "I feel like I'm always behind," you might pause and ask yourself, "Wait, am I really always behind? Or is that just how I feel today?" That pause, that awareness, it changes how you talk to yourself. And that can change everything about how you learn. It's also a beautiful tool for checking in with other people. Let's say a friend seems distant. You can gently say, "I feel like something's bothering you. Do you want to talk?" See how soft and kind that is? You're not accusing. You're just opening a door. It invites connection, not conflict. Now imagine you're in a meeting and your idea wasn't really heard. You could say, "I feel like my opinion didn't come across clearly." That invites discussion. It gives others a chance to clarify or support you, all while keeping the conversation respectful. Here's one of my favorite examples. "I feel like I'm just going through the motions." This phrase speaks to those times when life feels repetitive, stressful, or disconnected. And it's so hard to explain in another language, but this little sentence makes it possible. Of course, "I feel like" works for positive emotions too. Let me share a few. "I feel like I'm getting stronger." "I feel like I'm finally enjoying English." "I feel like this is where I'm meant to be." "I feel like I've grown a lot." Aren't those beautiful? They're real, they're heartfelt, and they're completely natural in English. When you say them, people listen, not just to your words, but to your truth behind the words. That's the magic of "I feel like." It gives emotion a shape. It gives thought a rhythm. And it gives you the power to connect with others and with yourself. Here's a little exercise I'd love for you to try. Think of one emotion you felt today. Now finish this sentence. I feel like... Say it out loud. Maybe it's, I feel like today is too much. Or, I feel like I'm doing okay. Whatever it is, let it be real. Let your voice speak for your inner world. Because English isn't just a language. It's a bridge between your thoughts and your voice. And this phrase helps you build that bridge. Now, I want to tell you a story about someone very special. Amina. Amina is a young entrepreneur from Nairobi, full of energy and ambition. A few months ago, she received an email that changed everything. She'd been accepted into a startup accelerator program in Tokyo. A dream come true. Her heart raced. Her hands shook. She was so excited she could barely breathe. But when she called her mentor to share the news, all she could say was, "I'm happy." And it didn't feel like enough. That's something many learners experience. You go through something amazing, something exciting, and suddenly your English feels too small. You want to shout, to celebrate, to express everything. But happy or good just doesn't cover it. So today, I want to give you a few more ways to describe that joy. Not just to sound fluent, but to feel more free when you speak. Let's start with something simple but powerful. I'm so excited. It's a full sentence. It's natural. It's emotional. Don't underestimate it. Say, I'm so excited about my trip. Or, I'm so excited to start this new job. Put the feeling behind the words. Let your voice match your mood. And it becomes real. Next up is, I can't wait. It's casual, emotional, and full of anticipation. Like, I can't wait to meet the team. I can't wait to try the food in Tokyo. Amina practiced this before her trip. She said, I can't wait to meet the other entrepreneurs. And I could hear her joy starting to shine through. Here's another beautiful phrase. This means a lot to me. It's not loud, but it's deeply personal. When Amina introduced herself in Tokyo, she said, being here means a lot to me. And you could feel the connection in the room. People understood. This wasn't just travel. It was part of her journey. Now, let's look at a few more powerful ways to express excitement. I'm thrilled. It's a stronger, slightly more formal version of excited. Amina used it in an email. I'm thrilled to be part of this journey. It was professional and personal. Then there's I'm over the moon. It's poetic and fun, full of emotion. You might say, I'm over the moon about this opportunity, or we're over the moon about the results. It adds color and joy to your words. And finally, one of my favorites. I'm pumped. It's casual, energetic, and great for sports, presentations, or big moments. I'm pumped for the event. I'm really pumped about the launch. It's fast, fun, and very native. So, to wrap up today's episode, here's your invitation. Practice expressing what you feel, not just what you think you're allowed to say, but what's actually going on inside you. Say, I feel like this is hard, but I'm learning. Or, I'm so excited because I'm finally starting to grow. Every time you use your voice this way, you're not just practicing English, you're living in it. Now try saying one or more of these sentences out loud. I'm so excited. I can't wait. This means a lot to me. I'm thrilled. I'm over the moon. I'm really pumped. I'm deeply grateful. This is so special to me. I've been looking forward to this for weeks. I'm ready and excited for what's next. These aren't just phrases, they are tools. Tools that help you live your English, to feel it, to match your words to what's really going on inside you. And the more you use them, the more they become part of your real voice. Not a perfect voice, but an honest, human one. And honestly, that's where real fluency begins. Now, let's talk about how to make this part of your everyday learning. One of the best tools I recommend is something I call a feelings journal. It can be a simple notebook or even a digital document. The idea is to write about your emotions and experiences in English. Just a few sentences each day. No pressure for perfect grammar. The goal is to connect your feelings to your English. You could write things like, "Today I felt tired after work," or "I was nervous before my meeting." Over time, you'll start noticing patterns. You'll see which words describe your emotions most often. And that awareness, that's powerful. The journal makes your learning personal and active. It connects the language to real moments in your life. And when you look back after a few weeks, you'll see how far you've come. Not just in vocabulary, but in confidence too. Here's another tip. When you learn a new feeling word, say it out loud in your own sentence. For example, if you learn the word anxious, try, "I felt anxious before the presentation." Or, "Sometimes I feel anxious about speaking English." This helps with pronunciation, rhythm, and, most importantly, it makes the word part of your speaking life, not just your memory. You can also expand this practice by thinking about other people's emotions. Maybe you watched a movie where the main character felt disappointed. Try writing, "She felt disappointed because the trip was canceled." This helps you apply emotional vocabulary to a variety of situations, not just your own. And here's a fun idea. Try associating emotion words with colors, images, or even little drawings. For example, happy timed yellow, calm timed blue, angry timed red. Your brain loves connections like this. It makes the learning more visual, more personal, and more memorable. So don't be afraid to make English yours. Make it about your feelings. Make it about your life. Make it honest. Because at the end of the day, language is not just about words, it's about connection. Now, we're going to explore something that can really transform the way you connect with others in English: emotional vocabulary and empathy. You know, we often start by learning how to talk about our feelings in English, how to say, "I'm happy," or "I'm nervous." And that's an important part of becoming fluent. But there's another side to emotional language that's just as powerful: showing empathy. Empathy means understanding and caring about what someone else is feeling. And when you can do that in English, your conversations become more meaningful, more human, and much deeper. Let me share a few simple phrases that I think every English learner should know. These phrases are easy to remember, but they carry a lot of emotional power. One of the most useful is, "That sounds tough." You can use this when someone tells you about a difficult situation. For example, imagine a coworker says, "My computer crashed and I lost my report." You could simply respond, "That sounds tough." It's a short phrase, but it shows that you care. It invites them to keep talking if they want to. Another great phrase is, "I'm happy for you." Let's say your friend tells you, "I got into my dream university." You can respond with, "I'm happy for you." It's sincere, it's kind, and it makes the other person feel supported. There's also, "I understand how you feel." If someone says they're nervous before a big event, you can say, "I understand how you feel. I get nervous too. This kind of response helps build trust. It lets the other person know they're not alone. Now, these phrases aren't just about vocabulary, they're about connection. And when you say them with kindness, even if your grammar isn't perfect, they really do make a difference. So let's practice together. If someone says, "I'm really tired this week," you could say, "That sounds tough. I hope you get some rest." If they say, "I passed my driving test," you can say, "I'm happy for you. That's amazing." If someone says, "I was nervous before my job interview," try, "I understand how you feel. That happens to me too." And here's a tip. Don't be afraid to ask follow-up questions. After saying, "That sounds tough," you might ask, "Do you want to talk more about it?" Or, "How are you coping?" These kinds of questions show you're really listening, and they help the other person feel heard. Now, even if you're speaking online, remember that your tone matters. A warm voice, a kind expression, or a smile, yes, even through the screen, can make a big difference. Sometimes you might not know exactly what to say, and that's totally okay. You can always use a gentle phrase like, "I'm sorry to hear that." Let's say your friend says, "My flight was canceled and I'm stuck at the airport." You can say, "I'm sorry to hear that. That must be frustrating." These small words carry a lot of kindness. And here's something else to think about. Showing empathy isn't just about learning new words. It's about learning to listen, to slow down, to care. So, I have a challenge for you. This week, pay attention to the conversations around you. In real life, on social media, in movies or podcasts. Look for moments where someone is sharing how they feel. Then, try saying some of these phrases to yourself, or even out loud. That sounds tough. "I'm happy for you." "I understand how you feel." And if you keep a feelings journal, which I highly recommend, write down the situations where you could use these phrases. Think about how they might change the tone of a conversation. Write about how the other person reacted, or how you think they might react. This reflection helps you build emotional fluency, bit by bit. Empathy doesn't require advanced vocabulary or perfect grammar. It's about speaking with sincerity and building trust. When you respond with empathy, you make people feel safe, respected, and seen. And that's something we all need, no matter what language we speak. Now, before I go, I want to share one more story that really touched me. It's about Kareem, a young architecture student from Cairo who moved to Toronto to continue his studies. After a really difficult exam, a friend asked him how he felt about it. Kareem paused and simply said, "I don't know how I feel." That sentence may be short, but it's deeply real, because sometimes emotions are confusing. We can feel many things at once, or not be sure how to describe them. That's why emotional vocabulary matters so much, not just to speak English well, but to express what's really going on inside us. So, let me encourage you again. Start small. Pick 5 feeling words this week that describe your day. Write them down. Say them out loud. Use them in sentences about your own experiences or stories you hear from others. Then add 5 more next week. And keep going. It's not a race. It's a personal journey. And step by step, your ability to express feelings in English will grow, naturally and confidently.